Welcome to This Explainer. Look, today we're diving into something totally fascinating. We're going to uncover why the absolute biggest deceiver in your life is actually the person staring right back at you in the mirror. We're getting into the hidden psychology of self-deception. We're going to pull back the curtain on why human beings are so incredibly skilled at lying to themselves and how our minds literally distort reality just to protect our egos and, strangely enough, secure our success.
You know, we spend so much time worrying about how other people might trick us, right? Scammers, politicians, slick salespeople. But I want to pose a really uncomfortable question to kick us off. Who is actually the easiest person to fool? Well, according to physicists and psychologists alike, the answer is yourself. We are constantly filtering, distorting, and misrepresenting reality. But why? Why do we have this profound capacity for self-induced blindness?
The great novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky brilliantly illustrates our core theme here. He warned us, above all, don't lie to yourself. He believed that losing our grip on our own internal truth completely deranges our ability to love and respect anyone else. It's like when we lie to ourselves, we essentially smash the compass of our own morality. We start accepting these little falsehoods as truth, which eventually just rots our relationships and our actual sense of self from the inside out.
So let's look at Deceiving to Survive, the evolutionary cheat code.
We usually think of self-deception as this modern psychological glitch, but evolutionary biologists suggest it's actually an ancient survival strategy. Think about it. Conscious lying, that takes a massive cognitive load. When you know you're lying, your brain is working overtime, and you leak all these nervous clues, sweating, hesitation, tiny micro-expressions. But self-deception? Zero cognitive load. The theory is that we actually evolved to lie to ourselves specifically so we could completely bypass those physical tells. If you genuinely believe your own lie, you can deceive other people seamlessly and confidently. Historically, having that absolute conviction helped humans gain power, amass resources, and succeed in really complex social hierarchies. It's quite literally an evolutionary cheat code.
Moving right along to the ego's defense system. To pull off this evolutionary trick and ruthlessly pursue success, our ego had to build an invisible suit of armor. It has to protect itself from the anxiety of the actual truth. When our primal urges clash with our moral standards, it creates this huge, uncomfortable tension. So our mind deploys these unconscious defense mechanisms. According to psychological models, rationalization is definitely one of our favorite weapons. It's when we use seemingly logical reasons to justify a mistake or excuse behavior that violates our own boundaries. It sounds totally rational, but is entirely designed to cover up our real, hidden motive.
Think about a time you did exactly this. Let's say you bomb a test, or maybe you completely miss a huge deadline at work. Almost instantly, your brain serves up the perfect excuse. Well, my roommates were just too noisy, or my boss didn't give me enough time. It sounds perfectly valid, right? Like a wonderfully logical excuse. But really, it's just the ego refusing to accept the blame. It's protecting your self-esteem from the painful reality that, hey, maybe you just didn't put in the work.
And when rationalization doesn't quite do the trick, we turn to projection. This is an incredibly common defense where we basically take our own toxic traits, our insecurities, or our shameful desires, and suddenly we see them in everyone else. We project them outward so we don't have to deal with them inward.
Your mind gets so deeply ashamed of its own behavior that it subconsciously assigns the guilt to an innocent bystander. Imagine you lose your temper, but instead of sitting with the guilt of overreacting, you aggressively turn around and accuse your spouse of having anger management issues. Wild, right? But you've successfully externalized the threat to your ego and maintained your little illusion of control.
Now let's explore what the Arbinger Institute calls being trapped in the box.
If we step out of clinical psychology and into everyday relationships, this is where self-deception does the most damage. Imagine a couple sleeping, and the baby starts crying. Step 1, the husband feels a genuine urge to get up and help. Step 2, he ignores it. That right there is self-betrayal. But to avoid feeling like a bad partner, his brain immediately jumps to step 3. He starts justifying his choice by villainizing his partner. He tells himself, I'm the one who works so hard to pay the bills. She's lazy. She should get up. Notice what happened? A simple choice to stay in bed transforms into this distorted reality where he's the hardworking victim and his perfectly fine partner is somehow unreasonable. He's now trapped in the box, seeing his partner not as a human being, but as a mere object in the way of his own comfort.
And the real-world stakes here are absolutely staggering. Recent research shows that up to 58% of young adults hide money, purchases, or debt from their partners every year just to avoid conflict. Over half. This is a massive self-deception, usually tied to keeping up an illusion of wealth or success. People tell themselves, "Oh, I'm just keeping the peace," but they are actively destroying marital trust. The deception acts like a contagion that undermines the whole relationship.
Which brings us to the cost of lies. We've seen how we lie to survive and protect our status. But what happens when we run from reality for too long? Deep down, we build these elaborate illusions specifically to hide from four terrifying, inescapable facts of human existence. We avoid the reality of death by obsessing over youth. We avoid our ultimate aloneness by maintaining these overscheduled, superficial social lives. We avoid meaninglessness by blindly accepting cultural scripts for success. And most critically, we flee from our absolute freedom, because freedom, that requires taking total responsibility for our lives.
As the philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre noted, when we flee from this freedom, we fall into what he called bad faith. Essentially, bad faith is pretending we aren't as free as we actually are. It's when we blame our parents for our personalities, our jobs for our stress, or our culture for our choices. We pretend we're just these powerless objects reacting to the world, instead of free human beings actively shaping it.
So, let's talk about confronting the truth. How do we actually wake up from this matrix we've built for ourselves? The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche reminds us just how incredibly hard this is. He pointed out that deception and posing are so much the rule among humans that a pure urge for the truth is almost incomprehensible. Truth is quite literally the ultimate anomaly in human nature, which means finding it requires a radical, intentional, and frankly uncomfortable level of self-awareness. It means observing yourself without judgment and catching those rationalizations right as they form.
I want to leave you with this final thought to really reflect on today. What is the true cost of refusing to see the reality of your own life? Sure, your self-deception might protect your ego right now. It might lower your anxiety today. But every single time you lie to yourself, you surrender your ability to adapt, to grow, and to genuinely connect with others. It costs you your freedom, your relationships, and your true self tomorrow. The moment you stop lying to yourself, well, that's the moment your life actually begins. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really encourage you to take a hard, honest look in the mirror today.